Also, it's been a challenge just getting fire engineers engaged as early as possible, and sometimes they're coming in sort of while other people want a design freeze put in place and nothing can be changed, and it makes it very difficult to engineer these buildings, and they require sort of complicated adjustments and expensive adjustments because fire engineers and insurers weren't involved early on in the process.
I mean, I think one immediate change they could do is remove insurance premium tax from these buildings. I mean, the government take 12% of insurance premium in tax, so they could quite easily remove that tax for these buildings, and that would cut their bills significantly. And as I say, I think we need to take another look at the legislation in terms of, as I was saying earlier, looking at it more holistically and looking at a combustible material ban in buildings under 18 metres, and just being really mindful of, if we want to use, so for example, modern methods of construction or timber frames, we don't want to be a blocker to that, but I think we just need to make sure that those decisions are taken with the view to insurers. So again, having insurers at the involved in the outset of those conversations about the insurability, and measures that can be taken, whether that's in large buildings, whether that's increased use of sprinklers, which is the other thing we'd be asking government for, to align the approach with other countries in terms of warehouses or new schools or new hospitals, that you have this kind of mandatory sprinkler requirement. So there's more that could be done on that as well. And I think looking again at the buildings under 11 metres and funding, government funding for that, because as I say, it's completely unfair if people are stuck with they can't sell it because they can't pay to remediate, and yet there's no remediation funds for them. So I think that's another issue that government could look at as well. And I think whilst a lot of work has been done on remediation, the pace is still not quite there. We need to speed up, because people have been living in these buildings for a number of years, and you want them fixed. So, and I think that needs to be sped up as well.
Yeah, the pace is very distressing for people, and we get calls from people asking for help with it, and I know people personally who are struggling with that. And when you dive into the individual cases, there's so many complications going on. A lot of it seems to be sorting out who's going to pay for it, and work doesn't start until the funds have been secured, and that seems to be a blocker, and something that would be great to see it moved on. A lot of what you were talking there earlier was about sort of the government changing regulations to make buildings more resilient. I think would be a sort of a fair summary of it all. And you touched a bit on timber frame there, which I think is an interesting point. Is unusual buildings, because we're struggling a bit, just getting the typical standard buildings right. But obviously, modern methods of construction's coming in with light gauge steel, timber frame, living green walls, and sort of integrated solar panels and things, it becomes an even bigger challenge. What do you think could be done from other stakeholders, so not just government, to help with property protection? Are there other stakeholders, in building design and things that could be doing more?
I think so. I mean, the government have a timber and construction roadmap, which they published about 18 months ago. And we're involved in a working group that's specifically looking at timber in construction and insurance. So to, again, have those conversations early on. So that's really positive. And then I think, taking Dame Judith Hackett's kind of challenge for the industry to be more proactive, give a bit of a plug to the Risk Authority's work on the guidance on green and living walls and roofs, and I think having those conversations with the whole supply chain, the manufacturers of the products, so that you minimise the risk of fire spread. And it's not just about putting it up, it's then the maintenance. So be that the green or living walls or solar panels, they need to be properly maintained. And with the green and living walls, it's a watering regime, so that you're not leaving it kind of tinder basically on the outside of the building. And that was a really collaborative approach that Risk Authority took, involving kind of insurers and other key stakeholders and the manufacturers and producers. to actually produce something that people can kind of go, okay, right, well, this is how we're going to do it, and we want to minimise fire risk, and this is the best practice guide to do that. So that kind of approach as well. I think the industry really collaborating and working together across the whole supply chain. And I think again the end with the end user in mind, be that the leaseholder or the householder, that they know if you have a solar panel about regular maintenance and things like that, and if you're having an extension work and you've got a modular building, the consequences and things like that. So people, knowledge is power, and actually just empowering people to know more about the buildings that they live in, and also making sure that as you say, they're truly resilient to future climate risk, be that high temperatures, low temperatures, high winds, flooding.
Yeah, and we've tried to be proactive, with these things, researching in different areas, and as I mentioned earlier, it has been difficult because of all the current issues going on. Sort of difficult to get our heads above the water and look to the horizon and see some of the problems, or try and anticipate some of the problems that'll be coming up. But I think there's a sort of very good points, and you say get insurers engaged as early as possible so people can understand their side of it. But also it's been a challenge just getting fire engineers engaged as early as possible, and sometimes they're coming in sort of while other people want a design freeze put in place and nothing can be changed, and it makes it very difficult to engineer these buildings, and they require sort of complicated adjustments and expensive adjustments because fire engineers and insurers weren't involved early on in the process.